Sorry, good evening, every pony and every creature. Welcome to tonight's stream at DAG. I've had quite the weekend so far, but anyways, let's talk a little bit about kind of what we are going to be looking at. I've been having some tech issues, so we'll try to deal with those as best we can tonight. But Friends Forever is just around the corner. If you've been paying very close attention, we have a pre-release date as of, it's supposed to be on December 7th, which may or may not know that that is also the weekend of Ultimate Masters for supposed of this game that I long since forgotten about, Magic the Gathering. So hopefully our pre-releases won't all get messed up by that. But it's around the corner. We've had a lot of spoilers. And Twilight's not very happy about that, isn't she? Or maybe she is. Maybe she wants to know what's in the set. Do you, Twilight? I think she does. I think we all kind of want to know what's going to happen in the set. And there have been a lot of spoilers. Now, some of them are a little bit more recent than I was able to actually... when I originally designed this stream, I had already pre-developed the decks. So, there might be some cards in the newest set or new spoilers that I haven't gotten a chance necessarily to look at. I tried my best to keep up with them. But these decks, so what we're going to do is, please note that tonight's stream isn't about what the new meta is going to be, but about what I think from the old meta is going to carry over into the new meta, and possibly ideas of the old meta coming into the new. So I'm going to approach this as an example. So basically, I am theory crafting what the potential for the older decks might be. Now, you guys should know me by now. I don't really run decks very consistently in tournaments. I tend to play just about everything. So there's been a lot of spoilers. Some of them I think are a lot stronger than others. And some of them have more potential than the ones currently released. Personally, as much as I like the new Thorax friend, I think that there's better things than that Thorax. And just remember that things like Singing Barrel, Motivational Speech, Staff of Sacanis will all still be in the meta, so that's not changing anytime soon. Because currently, as I predicted, if we are going to be getting approximately one set per year, then I predict that the Odyssey section of the meta will still be relevant. At least for another 2 to 3 sets, I think. So Singing Barrel and all that is still going to be perfectly fine. Meaning that color fixing is now just going to be easier than ever. Meaning that being able to run things like the new Princess Twilight 3-color friend will be very relevant, I'm thinking. And Princess Cadence, the 3-colored friend, I looked at and I read her abilities. I do like them, but I do not think that she's probably going to have some impact, but maybe not as much as people think. So with EO and the EO block still being a factor, these are decks that were in the current meta that showed a lot of potential for their respective archetypes. And I'm going to look at 3 different archetypes of decks and see what we can concoct as potential meta. Now, these aren't guaranteed to be in the meta, but they are guaranteed to at least be able to give people ideas of what a good Friends Forever meta might look like. And before we jump into all the decks, I am sorry, I've kind of been like, I'm noticing in chat, it's like everyone's like, we missed you and everything. Guys, I did a stream last weekend. I may have not been in the chats very much over these last few days. And the big reason for that is I was with family over Thanksgiving. So I was you practically couldn't contact me. I tried to stay up while I was away, but they don't really have internet at my family's place, and my family likes to be with the family. So I managed to get back Saturday, and then I had to run a tournament today, which was a big event. We had, I think, 7 people show up for just a regular special event local, so that was good. So things have been hectic. I'm back. I can keep in contact with all of you again. But let's go ahead and jump into the main points of this stream. Wrong side. Okay, if you are Twilight Sparkle and you're freaking out over the fact is, oh no, what could the potential meta be? What am I gonna do with my new decks or my old decks when the new set releases? Deck constructing nightmare. Read a book, relax. I do have some ideas. Now, I've been told several times that people would be very upset with me if I did not do something with aggro. Because of the temptation, I kind of want to jump into the 2 other deck types first. Because this aggro deck I'm about to release is one that's very dear to me. So let's go ahead and jump into... Let's get combo control out of the way. Alright, so if you probably will remember a deck from way back when, called Midnight Luna or Midnight Sonata deck, which was more or less a combo deck with a hint of control. And here's the current deck list. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't bring these up on Google, and that's what I wanted to do. But for some reason, Google Chrome doesn't like the new pony head coding. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and actually give you guys the deck list to this. If I can get it up here. Give me one moment while I locate this. So what I'm going to do is at every deck, I'm going to go ahead and paste these into chat. Give me one moment. So, okay. Alright, so that's this deck that I'm showing you right now. Alright, so what is this deck? This deck is the Midnight Luna Sonata deck list, which uses Tempest Shadow Mate. Now, I know that lacking lesson plans is a thing, but lacking lesson plans is also great for control. I know it's supposed to be an aggro problem. So let's go over kind of like the slight changes here. Okay, the last time Midnight Sonata was released, it had a very different list. But looking at the way that the past meta was and what the new one looks like, I find that this list is going to make it into the new format, maybe as a tier 2 deck. Please note I am not releasing anything that'd be tier 1 because we won't know that until the set releases. Okay, so what does this deck as Midnight Sonata have that it didn't have in the past? It's got Twilight Sparkle, Princess Twilight Sparkle, the new friend. So this card is a very, very, very powerful card because of several things. This card specifically states your other characters have +2 power. This means that even if your opponent flips a blackmail, you should be fairly well to confront it. Your friends can't be frightened. Now, what this means is that all your friends are protected from things like Staphylococcus, Zap, and various other frightened control. This is really, really good for this deck. Because one of the things that Midnight Sonata has trouble with is the fact that other control decks will either outpace it or remove all the things that Midnight Sonata wants to do. So protecting your Princess Luna is very important. Protecting your Spike, Master of Ceremonies is very important. Those two are the big ones because you need those for the deck to function. Now this list is also running Party of One and Bats because of the way that the meta was going. Now though, with Party of One, you can choose your Midnight Luna and still protect your Princess Twilight Sparkle as long as you have an additional 2 AT, because that way you can keep your Midnight Luna with your Princess Twilight. Now, before everyone's like, but Drada, what about that yellow wreck? There's no yellow cards you can use besides bats. So you're going to have a really hard time playing Princess Twilight Sparkle. And my answer to that is the Fire of Friendship. Now, I know that the Fire of Friendship has been deemed as a way to counter Tempest and Grubber. And I know a lot of players out there will be asking me, but Drada, Tempest and Grubber is going to fall by the wayside because of Fire of Friendship. I don't think so. I think Tempest and Grubber will still be a solid combination. Even if you force a Fire of Friendship to come out, gaining that hand knowledge is extremely, extremely important, I think. Having the hand knowledge that allowing you to know what's in your opponent's hand gives you perfect card knowledge of their deck, which makes things like Fire of Friendship might be to stop you from losing an important card from Grubber, but it still gives your opponent to know what you're going to play, what you're going to do, how you're going to play your deck. It tells you what kind of deck your opponent has, all for 2 AT. So I still think that Tempest and Grubber, though not as powerful as it was, will still be pretty strong in the next meta. Lacking Lesson Plans is simply here to counteract farm and other control decks. So one of the things that would slow down Moonlight Sonata is your opponent would play Changeling Mimics, or they'd play a Troublemaker, stopping you from confronting. This way, with Lacking Lesson Plans, you can actually go through their Troublemakers. Now, for the most part, I'm keeping the problem deck mostly the same, except for that Lacking Lesson Plans. So all in all, I think that this deck will maybe show up in the beginning, but I don't expect it to have... I expect it to be ran in maybe some control metas, because it still is a very solid deck, though a little slow. Now, it's important to note that redeeming qualities can still hit and put Princess Twilight Sparkle into play with avoiding the color wreck. That's also really important to note. But this deck has a very control combo-ish feel. And before everyone's like, but Drata, it's a control deck. It's technically combo because it likes to build up AT to cycle through Hearts of Strongest Horses and the Spectacle. So it's very much a combo slash control. So that's going to be our first archetype for tonight. I think that Moonlight Sonata is still going to be a strong deck, probably even stronger than what it was before because now it has the added protection. Yes, these decks will be core format. Because it has lesser card pool and trying to build around Harmony format. Because the Harmony format is more cards and trying to build spoilers or cards that have been spoiled with Harmony is just a lot of work for me, and I didn't want to go through as much work on that. Alright. So, for the most part, I think this will be a solid deck. Being able to mill your Princess Twilight and your Princess Luna, then be able to put them into play, will allow you to do some pretty crazy things. Not the least of which, when Princess Twilight's in play with Princess Luna is 7 power. And you can party of 1 without losing both of them. Which is kind of ridiculous. Because if you pay the 2 to prevent Luna from being banished and you choose Twilight as your target for party of 1, you basically keep around 2 very, very powerful friends, even though you just party of 1, which gives you a huge advantage over your opponent, because you're able to just trying to think how best to explain this, folks. It just keeps both of them in play. Even though Luna would come back at the end turn, or whichever one you banish would come back at the end turn, it's still very, very, very effective and a very good choice to merge the 2 together. Alright. Let's look at something that's been known to be one of the hardest decks to play in the current meta, currently. Everyone was kind of expecting it at Continentals, yet it didn't really show up. Let's talk about Homework the Deck. Let me get that deck list for all of you. Alright, Homework the Deck, aka Chaos Control. Let's see. Alright, Chaos Control. Chaos Control is been around for quite some time. Yes, it's been around and everyone's probably like, oh, Drata, but it's Chaos Control. Why are you being mean and everything? Alright. Chaos Control had one major flaw. One big flaw in the current meta. And that flaw was removal. It was very, very easy to take out most of Chaos Control's tools by removing them from the game or frightening their board state. How do we stop this? How do we get rid of the removal? We add Princess Twilight Sparkle, the new friend, to the deck. See, Chaos Control really just needs Time Loop, AJ, Cover to Cover, Selena Blue, Tender Taps, Zap, and 3 Stabs and Fernando to really function. So those are going to be your core cards. As you can see, Lacking Lesson Plans is once again in the deck in case you come up against a Troublemaker heavy deck. Now, I find that a lot of control decks are running Troublemakers to stop their opponents from basically confronting. Lack of Lesson Plans pretty much gives you a way out, with Chaos Control. So you can continue confronting that one problem even if there's a troublemaker there. You don't necessarily have to confront your opponents, but you can use lacking lesson plans to bypass any control TMs. Now, Zap is still going to be a major factor in the current meta. Now, once again, you may notice that this deck list does not have any other yellow rec. That's why we're swapping out the Fire Friendships with the 2 motivational speeches. Also note that there are now 2 grubbers rather than 3 in each of the controls the control combo list and the current control list. Because grubber isn't as powerful with Fire Friendship being a factor, you only run 2 grubbers. And you have to kind of target another troublemaker to make things work. And that's how I'm viewing it right now. Having 2 grubbers is actually better now than having 3 because of the fact that Fire Friendship will replace that instant discard. So you can use the first one to look at your opponent's hand to see what they have. So you can estimate approximately how many Fire Friendships they own in the deck. If you see one in the hand, they're either running 2 or 3. This will allow you to prioritize your next grubber attack. That's why grubber has been dropped to 2, because you want to avoid hitting Fire Friendships. Meanwhile, you're going to use your Fire Friendship to drop the color rec of these decks. Now, what this will do is that it makes it easier to play everything in Chaos Control. Because you're still running Singing Barrel, you should have plenty of color rec covered with Staff of Sacanis. But the Fire Friendship will still allow you to play things like Dr. Who's Time Loop. It will get you Desert Road easier. It'll get you Fernando easier. This will allow you to play things a little bit at a faster pace, because a lot of decks suffer from having that either 4 color rec. Now, the Changeling Mimics are still in there because it's a great card, and it will still slow down a lot of players in the current. With Friends Forever coming out, I think that Mimics will become a little bit more important over the grubbers. Cover to Cover, still a great card. Going to be ran in every purple deck practically until it cycles. But the big one is adding in that that removal protection. Now, I'm trying not to go through these too quickly. But, so, alright. Obviously, standard Chaos Control list, except now with removal protection and better color fixing. Alright. I know that I didn't spend a lot of time on the Chaos Control and the Luna combo control because they're practically already built decks. Alright. So, I think I'll spend the next probably 15-20 minutes talking about this next one. So, if you guessed, we've talked about control, we've talked about combo. There's another archetype we haven't talked about yet. And if you're thinking farm, you'd be wrong. Because we don't know what the new TMs will be yet in the next set. Alright. Let's step aside just to cause a little bit more suspense and talk a little bit about what's going to come after we're done looking at this deck. I do have some cards to spoil that have not been spoiled yet. So those will come at the end of the stream. So don't go anywhere when I'm done talking about decks, because I do have spoilers for you. But let's take step back and look kind of at what the meta has been based on the 2018 Continentals. We saw a lot of BRB. We saw a lot of control. We saw a lot of aggro. Alright. Aggro lists ranged from things like blue-pink, blue-yellow, blue-purple. There were aggro lists. I guess BRB would be technically aggro in some shape or form. Alright. So we saw a lot of control, aggro, one farming deck, one no friend control. So if you're going to look at aggro again, some of the stuff that you need to think about is what would a future aggro deck look at? Now let's talk a little bit about defining how to build. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. Let's talk a little bit about, before we get into this deck, about how you would look at a meta deck and how to approach building one. One of which I usually look at is AT efficiency. AT efficiency is very, very important. The next is color rec efficiency. Can I play this color rec as quickly as possible? Will I ever have issues playing said card? Then you want to look at what style of deck you're planning to use, whether it's control, aggro, farming, or combo, and how to go about performing the tactics to win. When constructing a meta deck with aggro, you want to focus around AT efficiency over anything else. So being as AT efficient as possible is very important. For control, having the control tools at an efficient cost is very important, because the last thing you want to be doing is spending 4 AT to frighten 2 cards. That's not a good use of your AT. But spending 5 AT to be able to top deck what you want and having a 7 power friend like Moondancer, Selena Blue for control is very important. So deciding what to put in can be a real challenge. I must admit, I went through 5 or 6 renditions of the deck I'm about to reveal. And that's just the way I'm going to say it. I went through several renditions of this deck, and I think that I came out with something pretty special. Now, if you were guessing it was blue-yellow, you are correct, folks. I built a blue-yellow aggro deck. If that was your guess, congrats, you got it right. Give yourself a pat on the back and a hug from Princess Luna. This deck list. Alright. This might be a little confusing at first, because we don't necessarily see Gallus' other side. Alright, what does Gallus do? So, give me one moment. I'm going to bring him up here. If I can. I'm going to try. I should have had this up. Sorry, folks. Give me one moment while I try to bring this up. Alright, I know a lot of people have been trying to develop a Gallus deck. And I know that a lot of people were having kind of troubles with it. Gallus says, when you confront this card's problem, turn this card over. When you play a card during a face-off, this is his boosted side. 3 power on his boosted side, home limit of 4. When you play a card during a face-off, you may exhaust this card to score a point. Let's look at this aggro list very carefully. Alright. Let's look at the problem deck first. We got two Griffin Stones. Nightmare Night, What a Fright. Daring Escape. Concerning Cutie Mark. Searching High and Low. And 2 Lacking Lesson Plans. Alright. I know that it looks weird. Very, very weird. And I can understand a lot of players not getting behind this deck. So let me kind of explain my reasoning behind this. This deck is actually extremely fast for what it wants to do. It's actually way faster than it probably should be. Alright, so one of the things that I find with Gallus is that it's not that you want to use Gallus to confront, it's that you want that extra point that Trihorn Bunyip provides, without having to include a 4 yellow rec friend. Instead, you can include a main that you can use to exhaust during a face-off. Now, before everyone's like, but it's going to be so hard to start a face-off with this deck, and that's why we have Staphys Aconus. Staphys Aconus will start that face-off for you. And here's the issue that maybe a lot of you are like, but, there's no way, like, that's a very expensive Hasty Friends and everything. Look at Cloud Chaser and Flitter for a moment. This card was spoiled a while back. It's 2 AT for 1 blue, 1 yellow. Your other characters here have +1 power. So it gives all your characters there a power boost, as well as immediate. Exhaust this card to pay 1 less for your next friend. Okay. That means that you can pay 2, start a face-off. Very easily you can start a face-off. And so with staff out, you pay 1, start a face-off. Now you're in a face-off. Let's use Cloud Chaser and Flitter. I drop the next card I play by 1. Now, the next friend I play by 1. Now, all I have to do is pay 1 for either a Rutherford or a Night Glider. Or pay 2 for a Plushie Dash. All of a sudden, I just paid 1 to score a point. Because now, not only can you play that friend after you've won that face-off, because there is a priority window after the face-off. So you do the face-off, both players flip. You win it. Because that's staff. Now all you have to do is there is now a priority window after flips and after you won the face-off. So now you immediate for 1 less to play your next friend 1 less AT, and then you pay 1. So effectively for 3 AT, you not only scored a point, but gotten 2 additional power into play. Alright. That's fine and dandy, but where are we going to be able to call it aggro? Alright, as much as I liked using Gallus in this deck, the main focus of the deck is still to aggro the opponent, with Gallus allowing you to play a Hasty Friend during the face-off. Rather than play your Hasty Friends to double confront, you're going to do it during the face-off. Alright, let's look at Thunderlane for a moment. Thunderlane has Agile, which is, it has a move action requirement of pay 2 to move this friend at immediate speed. Alright. Call in the Dream Cavalry gives all your characters Swift until the end of the turn. Which basically means that for 1 AT you can move Thunderlane. With the Cloud Chasers, with the other Cloud Chaser and Flitters in the deck, when you have both in play, they move each other. And that is where you're basically for 1 AT you can move 6 power at immediate speed. Add that with something like a hasty ability or your frighten and stuff. Now before people are like, but Drada, we can't meet any of the color rack. The color rack is actually a maximum of 2 because the Fire of Friendship will be used to cover your yellow wreck, allowing you to basically DFO every turn for 1 AT, because the most that you're going to need at a problem at any one time is mostly going to be between 6 to 7. Now, if you look at your problem deck, the most you'll need to confront is 6 on Daring Escape, which is there to move things after you confront it. And to Griffinstone, which is also 6. But most of your confronts are kept low by the sole factor that you can confront it with at least 4 power, because you need to have Thunder Lane to be able to be used to confront. And you have to be able to draw into like Cloud Chaser and Flitter. So you want to be able to confront most of your problems at rather low confront requirements. Now, this deck is actually a lot faster than it might look because of the issue that Gallus may not seem like a good main for the meta, but don't underestimate that 1 point every time you start a face-off for 1 AT. By the time that you've started 2 to 3 face-offs, you've also spent 6 AT for... So you're basically spending 2 AT for a point every single time you do it, with Cloud Chaser and Flitter in play. The one that gives next friend costs 1 less at immediate speed. This ensures that you will always at least score 3 to 4 points every turn. And it's really, really easy to set up too. This is a really easy deck to get started because of the fact that you do have your 6 entry. You'll be able to get Gallus flipped really, really quick. It's really easy to flip him. Now, the new event that's there, if you look at that event, I actually rather like it. Immediate. One of your characters gets competitive 2 until the end of the turn. Note it says one of your characters, so when you start a face-off, you can use cheering section during the face-off to give like a character competitive and 2 until the end of the turn. This is great for things like Night Glider overpowering, Thunder Lane, any of your friends. Alright, Harmony Pegasus. For each of your Pegasus characters, that character gets an additional competitive 1. If you look at this deck, the only real non-Pegasus friends are Brian, Dayshift, and Prince Rutherford. Meaning that everything else is a Pegasus. Because everything else is a Pegasus, you're almost guaranteed at any one time to have maybe competitive 4 or 5 on top of the competitive 2. So competitive 7. Meaning Night Glider triggers are now officially a joke in this deck. So with that pile of competitive, you're basically going to make sure that you have your Night Glider triggers. You're going to score a point through Gallus. So no matter what problem your opponent has, you're guaranteed at least 4 points in a DFO with this deck. 4 points. That's a lot for just playing a friend for 1 AT or playing an event for 2. Once you have everything set up, and it's very quick to set up, which you're going to be scoring all the time. Anyways, a lot of you might be thinking, well, Gallus isn't that great with his, you have to exhaust him to score a point. But it's like using Solano, except better. Even though Solano is pay 2 to score 2 points, Gallus basically says, no matter what the face-off is, as long as I play a card at immediate speed, I will score a point during the face-off, guaranteeing you that Chaos Control will not want to start face-offs with you, guaranteeing that many decks running Staff of Sakanis won't want to start a face-off, meaning that a lot of Chaos Control decks and all of them are going to hesitate to make a move. They're going to look at Gallus and they're going to be like, I don't want to use my Staff of Sakanis. He'll score a point if I use Staff of Sakanis. Meanwhile, you can sit there and aggro them at immediate speed with very little confront requirement. This allows you to increase your chances of keeping up with a lot of the former meta decks. As an aggro deck, I think Gallus will be better than Scootaloo because it adds that layer of protection against Chaos Control, against BRB sometimes. Because people aren't going to want to get into a face-off with you if you're just going to guarantee that you will score a point. Okay. As much as I love this deck, I think that it has a huge amount of potential. Once again, I do not expect these decks to be top tier. I'm hoping that they will provide some insight into potentially what they will do in the upcoming meta. Things like Cloud Chaser and Flitter from the new set, which will drop the cost of the next friend you play by 1, which is really good. I have a strong feeling that Overpowering will still exist. Day Shift will still exist. Lacking Lesson Plans is going to be ran in every deck. That is my feeling on it because it provides you another outlet for DFOing and confronting and stuff. So no matter what deck you're up against, Troublemakers will not be as powerful anymore with Lacking Lesson Plans in play, because you will still be able to confront it. Call in the Dream Cavalry will be very good in this deck, simply for the fact that it will give your Agile friends Swift. Now, I did see that there was another Agile friend that came out. I'm just not including it in this video because of the issue that, A, I didn't know about it until after I built the decks, and that takes time to go back. But all in all, as far as Blue-Yellow Gallus being a Tier 2, Tier 1.5 deck, I think this would be an ideal build. Maybe with some modifications. Even though Scootaloo is typically the fastest main in the game, Gallus will provide you with anti-chaos control method. Because chaos control will not want to get into a face-off with you if you have Gallus flipped and Hasty in your hand. And they're going to realize real quick that you're doing a lot of stuff at immediate speed that they just can't respond to. Which means you're guaranteed a point off of Gallus every single turn for 1 AT, basically. I am still seeing Staff being used in every deck. It's a really good card. It's going to be running rampant for a long time to come, I think. But I think as far as a Gallus meta deck, I think this build will be the best possible Gallus blue-yellow deck you could probably concoct. Note, I have not play test any of these because I do not have cards from Friends Forever, so I'm really anxious to start building around things, but I unfortunately have to wait like we all do. Hopefully this provides some insight on maybe what you want to do with some of your former competitive decks like Blue-Yellow. Maybe look into Gallus. If you don't want to run Gallus, I highly advise using cards like Thunder Lane, Cloud Chaser, and Flitter. Because Cloud Chaser and Flitter is just so good. I highly advise running Lacking Lesson Plans in everything you do meta-wise. Fire Friendship, I'm looking at being very, very good and very strong. Especially in this deck where none of your yellow rec exceeds 2, and that's to make it so Fire Friendship literally removes color rec for you, for yellow. And as we saw, a lot of players that had resource removal had insufficient resource removal to deal with resources. So resources are very strong. Alright. My throat's a little sore from yelling at people all day, but yes. Okay, I know that's felt a lot like a lecture, and I apologize to everyone. Twilight's mad at me, and I know you guys are mad at me too. I've been lecturing you all this time. Well, class, Twilight Headmare is watching over us, and she promises that there is some fun coming our way. And let's get to the part that everyone's kind of been waiting for. That's right. If you didn't guess it. But first things first, if anyone disagrees with that said deck list, I flip the table. Alright, now that joke's out of the way, because I love that joke. But yeah, I flip the table if you don't agree with my choices of decks. Alright, so let's talk about something a little more exciting. Okay, if you don't know, by the release of this stream and what this stream is about, Friends Forever is almost here. It feels like we spent this entire time talking about Friends Forever meta. Maybe it was a dream, or a dream of a dream. Maybe Luna just planted it all in our heads that Friends Forever would be, here's some nice meta deck list from Friends Forever. Don't worry, it's just a dream. It's not actually happening. Okay, enough with Luna controlling our every thoughts and minds. Here we go. You guys ready for this? I must warn you. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Anyways. Alright. First card on the list. Let's talk about a troublemaker! That's right, folks! We haven't seen a troublemaker spoiler for the entire spoiler season. We have not seen a single troublemaker. That's right, we have a troublemaker. Alright, let's look at this bad boy. Alright, first things first. It's 5 power and 0 bonus. Oh man, that puts it on par with Grubber, actually. Okay, well, that's not nice. 0 bonus for a 5 power troublemaker is never fun to be up against. And so let's take a look at its ability. Let's see what the ability can't be bad, right? Or it can't be that overly good, can it? For a 5 power and 0 bonus? This card can't be challenged except by 2 or more characters. Would someone like to, I have no answer to this besides, I flipped the table! That's my only response to this card. Malwolf, or I forget what it was called. Malware or whatever it was called. Extra large. I think it was called the malware or whatever in the episode. But okay. This card can't be challenged except by 2 or more characters. You know what's funny? Is that thanks to some rulings, questions, this card includes main phase challenge. I'm going to let that sink in for a moment. You remember how everyone's always like, oh, Pipsqueak's a good card. Or let's go with a Changeling Can Change. Okay. Sounds like I want to play a Changeling Can Change, challenge an opposing troublemaker with all my friends there. Yeah, sure. That's fine. That's all good and stuff. Yeah, no, you won't be doing that against this. You'll play a Changeling Can Change to have all your characters challenge this troublemaker. Only one of them will be involved in that face-off, because only one of those characters can challenge it. Okay, so the way this works is that even if you have okay, so Vapor Trail, I believe, will be able to put someone into the face-off. You just can't challenge it with 2 or more characters. So the way that this has been explained to me is it means that both Troublemaker phase challenges and modifier-based challenges, e.g. Pipsqueak, Changeling Can Change, which specifically say you can challenge an opposing troublemaker with all your characters. Here, you can only do it with one of those characters, meaning you have to choose one of your characters, and that character is allowed to challenge this troublemaker. So, okay, hold on. Let me reread this. Okay, so if you only yes, sorry, I am messing up here. It's been a long day. You will need a total of 2 or more characters there in order to challenge this card. Meaning you will not be able to challenge it during main phase or whatever unless you have 2 or more characters there. Even if Vapor Trail or like Ember are at home, if you do not have an extra friend at that troublemaker, if you don't have 2 friends there, you won't be able to challenge it because Ember and Vapor Trail will not be there to initiate the challenge. If you cannot initiate the challenge, you're not going to be able to start the face-off. Now, if you combine this with a lot of movement ability and a lot of control factors, yes, this becomes very dangerous. Especially if you can make it so your opponent only ever has 1 friend there or 1 character. Nope, it doesn't mean that the main character will be included in this, obviously, because it says 2 or more characters. So, you will need... I would recommend at any one time, if you're up against a control deck that's running this, to have 3 characters there because you have no idea who's going to get moved. Alright, so that's that. So we all remember that episode, right, with the Changelings and Starlight Glimmer being kidnapped, and with Trixie being kidnapped, throw into a sack. That day obviously went very well for Ferax. He thought it went great. But what would happen if all of a sudden we went to the School of Friendship and talked about changelings a little bit? What would we do with ourselves? What would we see? We'd see Ocellus hit the books because she's a big bookworm, right? Ocellus hitting the books is a great idea. Alright, this is the purple changeling coming out in Friends Forever. 3 AT cost, 3 purple rack, 3 purple power, or 3 power, 4 purple rack. Alright, that sounds really good. It's a rare, so it'll be pretty easy to get. By the way, this will go well with a lot of other Harmony Changeling keyword stuff. But let's look at its ability. When this card enters play, you may put opposing friend on top of its owner's deck. Someone do me a favor, pull out an anvil, whack it, ringing T-Rex to come over to my place to have him destroy my house, please. Because honestly, I cannot say enough about this card. So who remembers BRB running Tempest and Grubber? 4AT! That's great! It's 2 different colors. What happens if you could just make it so much easier to IP something exactly the same for less AT? I think that this card will be very good in other things like BRB and so forth, but I still feel like that the 4 purple rec actually hinders it over something like Tempest and Grubber. Now, as we all know, Fire Friendship will be in the deck, meaning Ocellus can actually be a 3 for 3 with only 2 purple color rec. And although Ocellus is pretty good, you have to remember that there are cards that do the same thing, like Tempest and Grubber, but Tempest and Grubber is immediate. Ocellus is not. And as much as I do like Ocellus, I do not think that if you were just to throw her in BRB without any extra support to her, yes, it may not work well in BRB. But maybe in a Changeling deck, this card would really, really help. And as quoted by Chrysalis fans, she is the tiny trader. Yes, the mini trader to the hive. Yes, she is. Alright, we got about, 3 to 4 minutes left in stream, and I have one more spoiler to cover. Okay. I don't know if you guys are ready for this as much as I am. I have no idea if any of us are even ready for this card. So we've seen a couple interesting releases lately. I think that this one would definitely take the cake. You guys ready for this? Because I know I'm not. That is right. Ocellus the main. That's right. It's Ocellus as a main. Tiny Trader to the Hive is a main. Okay. Alright, let's talk about this a little bit, because this card looks interesting. Okay, start side. Ocellus, knowledge is power. She's a changeling, so we're getting another changeling main in white. The last one was, I think, Changeling Pretender. I think that was the last one. I don't think we've had another Changeling main in a while. So it's nice to finally get another Changeling main, because I know that I'll be running this in something. Okay, what's your flip requirement? It's when you confront this card problem, turn this card over. So obviously you need to use Lacking Lesson Plans with her. Okay, well that's all fine and dandy. Let's look at her boosted side. 3 power, well that's pretty standard. Home limit 4, okay. While you have a friend with higher power than its cost, this card has... Did I just read that right? +2 power. I'm not so sure how I feel about that, but... Okay, if you drop a rarity pony pirate or like an aloe, you could effectively temporarily boost her power, so you wouldn't have to boost the main, but you could use her in like aggro. maybe a replacement for standing ovation, though I think that's a long stretch. Let's look at her immediate ability. Pay 3. Ouch! That's a heavy cost. To double this card's power until end of turn. I don't like that. I'm just making frowny faces at the moment. I'm just thinking to myself, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I play Aloe. I boost my main +2 power. Let's give her +2 power. Or actually maybe play a Rarity Pony Pirate. Give it +2 power. Okay, so for +2 power on Rarity Generous Pony, now it's a 4 power. Ocellus is now +2 power until the end of the turn. Alright, put her at a different problem. DFO, right? Because that's what you want to do when you're running something like that. Keep 6, maybe 8 AT banked. Maybe play Follow My Lead like once or twice. And just boost up Ocellus with that. You know, give her like another +2 power, +2 power, or whatever with Follow My Lead. Sure. Let's just do that. Just make sure you have like 6 AT. Spend all 6 to double her power twice. Let's see. I Follow My Lead maybe twice and a Rarity Pony Pirate. So Ocellus is now 9 power. Double it 1 time. Okay, so now she's 18 power. Double it again. She's now 36 power. Effectively, for a total of 8 AT, you can have 36 power. Now, this might sound like a lot of AT, but the highest efficiency with any one card for AT to power ratio is probably Corralling Critters, which specifically states with Standing Ovation, Corralling Critters can effectively add for 4 AT 16 power. So for 8 AT, for double that, you can effectively increase the its power for just slightly more AT. So what it would happen is you'd go to 18 power off of 5 AT. So you're getting 2 more power than Corralling Critters for 1 AT, basically. Then you're going to spend, let me do the math, then you spend another AT, or for 2, wait, yeah, so for 1 additional AT, you give it 2 additional power. Then you would go ahead and double its power for 3. So for 8 AT, you're effectively giving it, hold on, let me do my math. So for 6 AT, after 5, you'll have an 18. After 7 AT, you'll have, or after 8 AT, you'll have 36 power. So effectively, for twice as much AT, for doubling the AT over Corralling Critters, I mean, not Corralling Critters, Critter Choir, you effectively are increasing the power threshold by 20, which means this main is actually a gain on Critter Choir, which is currently the most efficient AT to ridiculous power card in and of itself. So effectively, even if you don't get the +2 power for her, effectively for 6 AT, you would increase her to 6 power than 12 power for 6, which is still a significant amount, but if you can manage to Follow My Lead her, she can effectively double her power to a really great extent. All in all, I'm interested to see if Standing Ovation is going to be better than Ocellus in the new format, or whether or not it'll be the worst. But honestly, I think that these spoilers kind of give us an idea on what's kind of coming. And, yeah, so as much as I like doing these streams and stuff, we kind of are at the end. So I'm kind of excited to see what Ocellus can do, and how well she's going to be. But that 3 AT is what bothers me a little bit. It's going to require more like burst aggro, so you're going to have to like wait 2 turns to really, for her to be effective. I think her in white-yellow aggro is better. But here's the thing, is that her ability is also immediate, meaning you can definitely use her during your opponent's turn to force a confront, or you can use her to win a face-off against a troublemaker, which is one of the things that I'm starting to see in the current set, is that they're really trying to weaken down troublemaker control. Alright guys, that will about do it for tonight's stream. I think that we pretty much got now a good idea of what a potential meta deck will be, and some spoilers leaked. As always, if you guys are looking to contact me, you can contact me through Drata Arcana Gaming on Facebook, or you can contact me at drata.arcana@gmail.com. And if you're looking for any of my other content, you can go to YouTube at Drata Arcana. And as always, guys, no but Drata comments. If you do, I will pretty much do this. I flipped the table. Anyways, look for more stuff to come. I will be doing some more stuff with other YouTubers and so forth in the future. Look out for me next week. I will be on 2 streams next week, my own and one other. As always, guys, I'm sorry I haven't been around a lot. I've just been really busy with family and running events and stuff. But I will make sure to get the next week's stream up by Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Good night. If you give your love to whatever, pony you want to give your love to, and if you're going to give your love to Luna, just know that Luna is guaranteed best princess, because Luna won the election by a landslide at 99.99% of the vote. Even Twilight didn't vote for Princess Celestia. I wonder how much backlash that's going to get me. Anyways, Luna is best princess. Give your love to Princess Luna to help you sleep at night, or give your love to whatever pony and you really, really care about, whether that be Muffins or Twilight or Rainbow Dash or Pinkie Pie. But anyways, guys, have a good night, every pony and every creature, and I'll see you guys on the next stream. So long.